There's a primary in Georgia, and it looks like Brian Kemp, who I guess had Mike Pence campaigning for him. This is going to be like we're getting a little bit of a preview of the 2024 campaign. I think it's a little bit overblown. Mike Pence is never going to be. We are at peak Mike Pence strength right now, is my guess. Mike Pence, remember, was an incredibly unpopular governor in Indiana. 43%, I think, approval rating. Maybe it was closer to 35, somewhere in there. But Donald Trump needed the evangelical vote. Mike Pence, probably the most successful theocrat in terms of like a position in our government. And here he is campaigning for Kemp in Georgia.
Because elections are about the future. Now, there are those who want to make this election about the past. Stacey Abrams and Joe Biden want Georgia to embrace the failed socialist policies of the last century. They want to stifle the liberties that generations of Americans have fought to defend. But you know the future belongs to freedom. And when you vote for Brian Kemp tomorrow, you will say yes.
Hold on for 1 second.
Freedom.
The failed socialist policies of the last century? Wasn't the 20th century the American century?
Nope, it was Stalin came over to America and made us all do communism.
I mean, what about traditional values like we had in this country in the last century?
I thought they always wanted to go back. I'm confused.
Well, aside from the Klan.
We haven't had the Klan stuff.
Aside from Jim Crow. Yeah. Continue.
You will say yes to a future of freedom here in Georgia. You'll say yes to our most cherished values at the heart of everything we hold dear. And when you say yes to Governor Brian Kemp tomorrow, you will send a deafening message all across America that the Republican Party is the party of the future.
That is one of the most uninspiring, empty rhetoric The Republican Party is the party of the future. That's why
his software hasn't been updated since like 1995.
Is that the platform we think? The party of the future? That's the policy platform.
Is Kemp running? Is he the incumbent?
Yeah.
So you want to reelect the incumbent for the future? I don't even get the thematically who's here. How bad?
Justice, commies.
How sideways and backwards must you be to be running against that for that to mean anything to anybody? He keeps saying the future. Why is he saying the future?
He's not even an asset.
Let's check in and see what Donald Trump is doing in supporting Perdue, who's running for office.
Yeah.
I don't know why does Pence keep referring to the future? It is very weird when you're saying re-elected incumbent.
I know where you're
what's
going
in the
with
past that you're trying to avoid?
Gotcha.
Well, I'm very disappointed in Mike, as a lot of people are, and he's just very greatly disappointed in me. He had a great opportunity, and all he had to do is send it back to the legislatures, let them decide. Because when you had all of that ammunition, when you had all of those things being said about the election, and you had all of the proof that Peter Navarro and others, many others, were talking about, it would have been very easy to send it back and have them come back. So I'm very disappointed at at the stance he took. But that's his, we're a country. It was very interesting. They said he had no choice. But in the meantime, they go and try and change the law so he can't do it. So that means he did have a choice. So we'll have to see. We'll have to see what it all happens. But all I know is this: our country has probably never been worse than it is right now. I think we're in the greatest danger ever of a nuclear war. I would have never thought that would have happened. We're in the greatest danger of a nuclear war. We're just in great danger. We're not a respected country anymore. So get out there. So important. This is a very, very big election that's coming up. This is going to be big stuff. So, David Perdue, just work hard, David. Work hard. We're going to have a big day tomorrow.
Work hard.
John Gordon
Let me
also,
imply it's your
Jody
fault.
Heiss, Patrick Witt. And you know what? You have to get out there and just vote for every single one, including Jake Evans, because Jake Evans is going to do a fantastic job. So good luck, everybody.
Yeah. Mr. President, just one last thing. I just want everybody to know, I never said this to you publicly, but that the worst thing Mike Pence did to you on January 6th is not share that fake legal opinion he had with either you or Pat Cipollone, the White House legal counsel. He had a duty to you, sir, as commander-in-chief. He had a duty to this country. He had a duty to the people of America to show that flawed legal opinion. He did not do that. Instead, he stuck the knife not in your back but in your chest. And for that, nobody in this country should consider Mike Pence to be anything other than but retired.
Whoa.
Wow, that hurts. They broke up. He stuck me with that knife, not just in the gut, but really in the groin. He stuck it in my penis.
I would never do that to you, President Trump. I, Peter Navarro, would never knife you in the penis.
I would just write a book.
It's just a weird way of saying he didn't just stick you the knife in the back. He stuck you right in the.
He looked
the
you in
front.
the eyes and he did it. Wait, I mean, honestly, that's more honorable.
If I'm Trump, I'm gonna go
That's right.
Peter. Peter, you might want to actually not say that because that makes me look weak. I don't want to be the guy who got stabbed.
I would be able
and is
to
in a
knock
pool-
his hand
pool
away.
of his own blood.
It's more like
Little Mike.
I did
poisoned by
Paris
Shook him.
and parry. Yeah, nice try. I just
It was some prop work.
I just Krav Maga him out of the way with it.
I would have never been stabbed.
He's so weak it wouldn't even hurt if he
I would
stabbed
have a
him.
belt buckle that was even stronger than who was that?
This
That
is
was Carson.
This is,
And
I
Ben
think,
Carson.
more than anything else, I think when Kemp wins is going to show that the state is just a little bit more blue than it was 10 years ago. And maybe much more blue because Trump just does not have the... he just doesn't have the juice in this state. I think Purdue's going to lose badly, and it's going to be interesting to see how, if this helps Abrams in some fashion, that Trump is not going to be able to come and campaign, or when he does come and campaign, that it's going to be somewhat problematic, because going down the road. I mean, I guess Ossoff is not running in that off-year election, but it's going to make Georgia a little bit more difficult I would imagine, in 2024.
Well, there's a dynamic.
Well, I think
Go ahead, Nomi.
I was just going to say, I think Georgia is the case for a lot of parts of the country, but it's not just based on your previous conversation before the fun half. It's not just that Republicans have taken control of all these places. There's no Democratic Party operation, and Stacey Abrams, with a great organization, basically created their own version of a Democratic Party, which should exist in Kentucky. It's not like people of color just landed in Georgia. Yes, it's more progressive, but it's more progressive because some of the older segments of the population that were white have been, passing on, and young people are being raised and moved there. But also, this is just what the South looks like. And when we organize consistently over a decade, it shows up. I mean, it's not rocket science.
This is the value of Charles Booker, I
Yes.
think, winning
Right, exactly.
in Kentucky, is that just like, Abrams ran, she lost. I think there was definitely a lot of reason to feel like, the voter suppression that Kemp had the ability to orchestrate contributed to that. But nevertheless, you get Warnock and Ossoff. And, 2 years later, and we will see this go around. It takes multiple cycles to build. But at one point, somebody has to do the building. And you could do that building even in the context of a loss. And Booker has been, building this. Had Booker been the nominee against McConnell, I do not think that he would have necessarily won, but we would start to be talking about Kentucky in a very different way than we're talking about Kentucky today. And I have a feeling in 2 years, in 4 years, we're going to be talking about Kentucky in a very different way because of what Booker is doing.
And I wish there was that kind of candidate in South Carolina this last cycle. I did, as opposed to Jamie Harrison. So, I mean, but Charles Booker can do it, I think. I don't think
the other
he's
thing
gonna
about
win,
the races
but
like Jamie Harrison is it pulls money away, especially when it's funneled through the DNC. It pulls money away from these other, renegade candidates. We're seeing this all over the country, like who really need the money right now. And it's hard to fundraise. It's people aren't raising the money online like they used to. There's a lot more people running. There's fatigue and exhaustion. So when you have one big name that the DNC is like pushing, it's harder for other folks to do that work when, we saw with Amy McGrath, of course, and which in that race, pulled away from a lot of other folks.